Welcome to my channel. This is JC Rock and Metal Reviews. My name is John. Today I have another anniversary album review. It is for Joan Jett, I Love Rock and Roll. Released on November 18th, 1981, celebrating 40 years. So this was an album I had when I was younger. I used to listen to it like all the time. And we all know it's because of that one song, I Love Rock and Roll, a very big song back in 1982. It spent 7 weeks at the #1 spot. But since then, I haven't really listened to the album, that much over the years. I listened to it last year because I did a video on albums from like 1981. And I listened to it again for today, and it's a good album. I did enjoy it. So I'll give you a brief bio on Joan Jett. She was first known with the band The Runaways. That's an all-female rock group from the mid to late 70s. Lita Ford came from that band. We all know her. She went to kind of do some more like heavy metal. But The Runaways had a hit song with Cherry Bomb. Joan Jett, she released a self-titled solo album in 1980, but that was reissued as a Bad Reputation. That was a kind of a hit song. You probably know it from one of those scenes from the first Shrek movie. Very energetic punk rock song. And her second album is the first with the Blackhearts, so I Love Rock and Roll. It was her biggest selling album, and the album did have a few cover songs, and I'm going to talk about that as I go along. So I don't know if there will be a 40-year anniversary release for this album. I do know there was a 33 1/3 anniversary edition released in 2015. This was right after Joan Jett was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I know that edition had an extra live album from 1981, but that's it with the album releases. I'm going to talk about the song now. The album is it's short. It's only 30 minutes long. There are 10 songs. I'm not going to include any of the bonus tracks from any of the reissues, so let me get right into it. So the first song, we all know that, I Love Rock and Roll. It's like, pretty heavy riff, right? The big song everybody knows. It's a cover song, originally released by a band called The Arrows. So the song, Joan Jett's song actually appeared as a B-side in 1979 for a song called You Don't Own Me. But like I said, it was a big hit, especially since it was released around the same time, MTV was getting big and, did become very popular. And the song, they played it a lot on MTV. Track 2, I'm Gonna Run Away. So this is a Joan Jett song, and it reminds me a lot of like a Kiss song. It has that like 70s hard rock style. But it's mixed with like 50s rock and roll, and that's something that Joan Jett does a lot in this album. It has a raw garage rock sound, and at the same time, it's a short and catchy pop song. Next is Love is Pain, another Joan Jett song. It's a little slower, but it does capture her pop rock style, mixing punk rock with that 50s and 60s rock and roll. I like this song a lot. I think it's one of the better deep cuts on the album. Next is called Nag. Now this is a cover song written by Arthur Cryer, first released by the Halos in 1961. And the song has a very like 50s style, like rock and roll sound, and almost sounds like kind of like an early Beatles song. The song retains that old time rock and roll sound with like a slight 80s hard rock edge. Next is another one of the more popular songs, Crimson and Clover. So that's another cover song. It's like Crimson and Clover, over and over. Now the original song was released in 1968, Tommy James and Shondells. Now Joan Jett's version, it's actually kind of heavier than I remember. It has like these distorted power chords in the intro, but it does have that old time rock and roll sound. And Joan Jett does add some of that like hard rock style to the song. So next is Victim of Circumstance. So this is a Joan Jett song, and it has a pop punk sound. It has a very like early 80s type of sound. It's just straightforward rock and roll. Pretty cool like backing vocals, and I don't know, for some reason it reminds me of the band Devo. I guess it's that early 80s sound, and it's a pretty cool song, and it has a bluesy rock and roll style guitar solo. That's just something that really stood out on that song. Next is Bits and Pieces. This is another cover song originally released by the Dave Clark 5. This one has a classic early 60s rock sound, and you do hear her backing band, they do some vocals and Joan Jett kind of sings along. So pretty cool cover song. Next is Be Straight. So this is a Joan Jett song, straightforward hard rock. Has a classic rock and roll vibe mixed with like some punk rock attitude, and you do hear that in the chorus with the backing band, and they just scream the line, you like be straight, and pretty cool song. Track 9, You're Too Possessive. So this is another hard rocker, has lots of energy, a little slightly faster pace than the other song. Lots of that like punk rock attitude and energy, and I like the guitar solo, kind of like one of those like Angus Young types of like AC/DC style solos. And the last song is, I don't know, I guess it's kind of filler, but Little Drummer Boy. It's a Christmas song, you know, the one we all know. We've heard the David Bowie, Bing Crosby version of this, I think. But I like this version too. Kind of has a little hard rock edge to it. And probably a good song to be in my list if I ever do my favorite hard rock Christmas songs. Not a bad idea for a video. If I do it, it will be out in December. And anyway, in conclusion, so it's an album. I haven't really listened to it that much over the years, but probably should listen to it some more. It's pretty good. It's a perfect blend of 50s and 60s rock and roll with like that 70s hard rock and some punk rock. So apart from the big song, I Love Rock and Roll, lots of other good tracks in the album. You know, some of them have more rock and roll vibe and some of them are harder rockers. So if you haven't listened to this in a while, you know, I recommend just giving it a spin. That's all. The weekend coming up, I have new reviews by bands such as Exodus, Robert Plant and Alison Krauss, Chemist, their doom band, maybe a few others. Please remember, like, comment, subscribe, check us. I'll link the video of the top 10 rock albums of 1981. I was talking about that, so I'll put that link right there. And otherwise, I do mention this album briefly, but that's all. Like, comment, subscribe. See you all in the next one.